Hello and welcome to the postpartum period, the fourth trimester. Really the so often overlooked area of pregnancy and childbirth that really doesn't get the informational, physical, the support that it really needs. Here we've just given birth. Up until that point we've been having really regular appointments or meetings with our care provider. Lots of support from everyone, and then we have the baby and things kind of slow down as far as support in particular. So this is really information so you can feel prepared to understand the fourth trimester and how you can support yourself. In the future sections of the program, we'll dive deep into ways you can really prepare, make lists, get yourself set up for a really successful start into motherhood. We start off with when the baby comes. So we just talked through all of the stages and phases of birth, everything that happens there, and now your sweet baby is earthside. Way to go. That is no easy feat. It's such a feeling of relief and empowerment after we birth our baby. The oxytocin really starts to flood our system extremely quickly. Within 15 to 30 minutes, your placenta will have been delivered, which is really the last phase of birth. Once this happens, your care provider is going to do a little bit of an assessment, make sure all of the placenta was birthed, that you don't have any large lacerations or anything that may need sutures. They're going to also start to massage your uterus to help it kind of work its way back into its pre-pregnancy shape. And it's going to help. You're going to feel some cramping as your uterus shrinks down. It happens relatively quickly. You can actually feel it. It's like little contractions that'll come after birth. Breastfeeding, which also really induces oxytocin into our system, is going to help that as well, continue to shrink the uterus back to its original size. But from here on out, we're not focused on just you and how you're emotionally feeling. We're focused on you and your baby and how you can best prepare yourself to feel empowered and just confident in your ability to be a mother. So standing on coals, we went through the flames of childbirth, through the flames of transition. We really, part of us died and burned into ash, and now we're left standing on coals. Active management of this third stage, which is the birth of the placenta. So first, your baby will be placed on your chest. I highly recommend you talk this over with your care provider about what their typical practices are with the baby after it's been born. Do they take it away and clean it up? Do you want that to happen? Do you want it to be placed directly on you and to have that contact skin to skin before any tests or cleaning up the baby were to happen? Oftentimes in a hospital setting, you're going to be given a uterotonic, often just Pitocin, which is the synthetic oxytocin, to help induce those contractions that help bring down the size of the uterus. The cord is then cut, sometimes even before the placenta is born. This happens. If you wish to keep your placenta, talk that over with your care provider. It's really common now and super beneficial to have your placenta encapsulated or frozen, added to smoothies. There's a lot of ways you can consume your placenta, or if you just want to plant it, that's a really beautiful practice as well. Delayed cord clamping is the way to go, as long as you possibly can. I recommend waiting until the cord, which when the baby's first born, there's still the blood vessels. You can see it's kind of like a purpley blue color in there with the blood. You want to wait until that is white and it's no longer pulsing the blood through. That means the baby has gotten all of its blood, which it was sharing in utero with the placenta. So we want the baby to have all of its blood to really give it all of those nutrients and the best start to its life outside the world so it can adjust properly. So again, this is why you need to make sure your care provider is on your team, on board with everything that you wish to have out of your birth experience. There are some perineal tearing, which is like lacerations or tears in the vaginal wall or the vulva that result from childbirth. It's super common, and most of the time it's really not a major setback to birth. It's natural, especially for first-time moms. Your body hasn't expanded in that way before. So there's several degrees of tearing that you may experience. The first degree is really just tearing the vaginal wall or the perineal skin only, just the kind of the skin that has been torn. A second degree tear involves, so we're tearing through the skin and into the muscle. The third degree would include tearing of the anal sphincter muscles, so going even beyond just that thin layer of muscle, we have that sphincter muscle. So we're 3 degrees in of like our body layers. The fourth is if it were to be like a clear tear through like into the anal cavity and the anal canal. Again, if you're at a hospital, you're most likely, or any care provider, they're going to suture you up. Most of the time, these sutures are ones that just dissolve in your body over time, so you don't have to worry about going back to getting them removed. And yeah, I mean, I remember I did have some tearing, and the stitches can be kind of itchy, like any stitches can be, but I didn't notice them. I was definitely sore for a while. I just did at birth. So it takes a little bit for that to heal and for you to feel really back to your normal self. Another reason they administer the uterine tonic or the Pitocin is to really help control some of that postpartum bleeding. You just gave birth, and where the placenta attaches to the uterus is almost like the size of a paper plate. So that's like an open wound almost in your body. It takes time to heal that. You're going to have some blood loss. Anything else, like any of the bodily fluids or the amniotic fluids that were in your uterus, most likely came out during childbirth. So we're really just working on healing your body from this time. At hospitals, you'll get kind of an ice pad. It's like a normal period, like overnight big pad, kind of frozen, so it provides some relief. Also, you can make these at home. I have them listed in the postpartum prep section. I make them for all of my doula clients just to have on hand. Keep them in your freezer or take them out a little bit before you're ready to use them so they're not quite so hard. But what I use is an herbal kind of tea mixture almost for things. The plant material I use are plants that are great for antibiotic, kind of a cleansing sort of property, but as well as healing for the skin. And you pour that over the pad. Also I like to add some witch hazel, which is really cleansing and healing, and some aloe vera, just because it feels good and it kind of gives a nice texture to the pad as you wear it, so it's not like just an ice hard pad that you're sitting on all day. Placenta encapsulation. So placenta encapsulation has really grown in popularity over the last few decades. Cultures around the world have been using this for centuries. It's really just America and Western medical practices that have caught on to the benefits of this. You'll have to talk to your care provider, let them know your plan to do this so they don't just take the placenta away right away. You'll work with your encapsulator on really setting all of this up, but you're going to want to put it in like a cooler. The encapsulator would come really quite quickly after birth to get the placenta so they can start processing it. It's first, so I know it's kind of a crazy idea of eating your own organ, but there's so many benefits of this. It really helps to increase your iron supply. So during birth, you lost a lot of blood. Postpartum, you're still losing blood. It helps to increase that iron supply, so you're not going to feel so tired and just worn out. Many women experience more stable mood, so not so great of mood swings postpartum, also greater milk supply, better maternal bonding, and faster postpartum healing. If you're looking for more information on this, please reach out. I have a pretty wide connection of friends and colleagues that I work with all over the country. So if this is something you're interested in, I can try to connect you with someone who can help you do this. How a placenta encapsulator is going to process your placenta. It's first going to be steamed. So they will kind of put it in like a steam bath and steam it through. This really helps to kill any of the bacteria or anything that may be growing that we don't want to be ingesting. Then it's going to be dehydrated. So your encapsulator, I'm also an encapsulator. What we do is we have like a specific dehydrator just for our placentas. I'm not using it for my food and your placenta. It's just for your placenta. Everything is really cleaned, decontaminated of anything that may be included. And you're going to dehydrate it. You cut it up in little chunks and dehydrate it. Once it's dehydrated, we grind it into a really fine powder and put it into like the plastic capsules that you would take your vitamins in. And there are some risks of contamination, so that's why we as encapsulators are really strict and focused on keeping the area and our materials clean of anything. Oh, excuse me. Overall, there's just great benefits to trying this. I don't think there's any negative benefits. If anything, women who are taking too many of these capsules a day may start to feel themselves like getting anxious, or like it's too much of an energy boost, that you get anxiety, feel easily stressed. And what I would recommend is toning down your dosage, taking less of that each day so you can still get the benefits. You're just not getting so many benefits that your system is feeling overwhelmed. Delayed cord clamping, it's again best to wait until the cord stops pulsing. We want to give the baby all of its nutrients, especially iron, to prevent anemia, oxygen, and those immune boosters. They've found in many studies that even just a few minutes is a huge benefit, but the longer you can wait, that's absolutely the best possible thing. If this is something that's really important to you, talk with your care provider, because otherwise they're just going to handle it as they typically would, which is a pretty quick cord clamp and cut. So let them know this is important, that you want to wait X number of minutes. And when you get into the birth space, remind them of that again. Have a list maybe of like, these are the things that are important to me and that I want. Hand that to them so they are reminded and that you're on the same page as them. There is a video in your course as well. Not going to watch it with you, but you can take the time to watch that if you want more information. Next, skin to skin. So it is so important that vaginal cesarean birth, your child is placed skin to skin with you, with your partner. You are still their life support system as newborns. You're still the person who keeps them alive and supports them. Being skin to skin helps to regulate their body temperature, regulate their blood sugar. It helps initiate breastfeeding because they're familiar with your scent, and just that connection, that maternal bonding starts to happen. It also helps keep them calm. The best way you can do this is to ask your care provider to delay any weighing, measuring, shots, the eye ointment, anything possible until after this golden hour that follows birth. And the golden hour is really a magical time. So given the opportunity, which it often doesn't happen, babies will move through these 8 steps, and it has so much benefit, and it's so often cut short. The baby's born, and there's maybe family who wants to take pictures. They take the baby away to be measured and weighed. Allowing yourself this time helps you to settle into this new role, this new mother self that you have. And it's so important that we allow ourselves this time for both you and your baby to kind of get acquainted, to focus on yourself. During this time, the baby should be only on the mother for the first hour. It shouldn't be handed around, shouldn't be taking pictures. Connect with your baby and yourself. It's going to give you and your baby the best possible start. So the first thing we see is the birth cry. It's the cry of movies, the baby's born, and it's really their reaction to, holy crap, this world is really bright and really cold. What is happening? After several minutes, that shock of birth starts to wear off, and the baby will settle and be very still and just kind of really calm and just chilling on your chest. Shortly after that, you'll notice the baby begins to stir. You might see some mouth activity beginning to form, really that mental, neurological connection to their mouths, and their eyes are going to remain open for longer periods as they're just kind of taking everything in. After the awakening, between any of the steps, really, there's going to be resting periods where the baby closes his eyes, is just kind of resting, hanging out, not really moving around, looking around, making a lot of mouth movements. Once the hunger cue becomes strong enough, you'll see your baby begin to inch its way closer to the breast. So say we had the baby born and it was just kind of on her stomach or lower chest, the baby will begin to crawl up to your breast to feed. Just like that. It's really so incredible how quickly this happens, and that we think of them as really helpless, stationary beings, but they will crawl up to your chest towards your breast to initiate feeding. Once at the breast, the baby's going to kind of be checking it out, looking like, this looks really interesting and like something I would like to put my mouth on, but what exactly is it? So you may notice it like bobbing its head around, just kind of looking at it, grabbing it, smelling it. It's really just getting acquainted to its new feeding source. When the baby is ready and all of its systems are awake, they'll begin to suckle at the breast. It's often like kind of like a little bird. You'll see like, oh. It's called a rooting reflex. That is your signal that your baby is ready, hungry, and ready to eat. Once it eats, it's going to sleep. A newborn baby's stomach is the size of a marble, which is really small, so it doesn't take a lot for it to feel full, but also because it's so small, it means it needs to eat more frequently. We also, our first milk, before our actual milk, breast milk comes in, which is usually, I would say 2 to 3 days after birth, give or take, we have colostrum, and this is like golden milk. It's so packed with nutrients and antibodies, really because their stomach's so small, our bodies know to produce something that is high in nutrients, high in antibodies, to give them like just a shot, a boost of nutrition and nourishment for that small amount of stomach size. And this process, so this 8-step process, is really allowing your baby to awaken and come into its physical form in this new bright cold world, to allow it to, all systems to kind of settle in and wake up. When we jump over this, we're disconnecting our baby from itself. We're also disconnecting our maternal instinct to keep our newborn babies close. And going out on a limb, I really feel like avoiding this sets you up for feelings of postpartum depression, starts to make you question your ability. Why is the doctor doing this? Why can't I be holding my child? Am I not good enough? Do they know more than I know? Taking control of this part of your birth is like hands down the number one thing I encourage you to do, is to get yourself this golden hour without anyone in the room or anyone else holding the baby, just you and your baby together. Pictures can wait, your partner can wait, the height and measurement can wait. If your baby's healthy and appears to be fine, like it doesn't need any sort of intervention, just allow yourself this time. It's really a beautiful practice. Lochia is the blood flow kind of loss that I talked about in early postpartum. So our body is getting rid of excess blood and tissue that it had built up to support the growing baby. The first couple days are going to be heavy, bright red blood and perhaps several clots. Sometimes clots can be kind of big, and you'll actually feel it when you're going to the bathroom, which is, I think, when most often it comes out, just because we're so neurologically trained to relax those muscles on the toilet. If it is really large, like size of an orange, call your care provider. Something more serious may be going on. Over time, this of course decreases. It starts to kind of get more brown in color. About 10 days you should see way less. It may be spotting, and really this continue up to 6 weeks post-birth. Don't put anything in your vagina, tampons, your menstrual cup, anything at all. Only wear pads, comfortable underwear. I cannot stress that enough, comfortable underwear. I actually bought like some boy shorts, plus size, for pregnancy because they were comfortable, but also postpartum they came in so handy, so comfortable. They can fit the giant pads that I had. Another kind of tip is if you are postpartum, you're starting to feel good a week or two, you clean the house, you do the dishes, you start to get back into your normal swing of things, and you notice a lot more dark red blood. That's a sign from your body that you pushed yourself too hard. We need to allow ourselves the time to rest. This 4th trimester, 40 days post-birth, I highly encourage you to rest and just do nothing as much as possible. Everything will wait. There will always be dishes. There will always be laundry. There will always be sweeping and vacuuming, always. Call on support. Call on friends and family to come help you. But take this time really to just nest and relax. Move from your bed to the couch, and that's it. Don't try to go and do all these things. Not allowing your body to rest in this time is going to negatively impact your mental and emotional health as motherhood continues. Some basic newborn care. So really there's not a lot your newborn needs other than you and food, cleanliness, warmth. Oops, this isn't what I thought it was. But this is also in your online course. It is the immunization schedule, so it's going to go through, let me see, through birth. It's going to tell you all of the different vaccines that your child is getting, and up until 18 years. So that's really just kind of an awesome thing to know. But newborns are super simple. They don't need a lot. They really just need you. So when you prepare for this postpartum, think about you and what you're going to need. Your baby just needs close contact, food, a clean diaper. For those of you who are breastfeeding, most hospitals, care practitioners offer a lactation consultant to meet with you. Usually at least once is free. And remember, your baby's learning this just along with you. They've never done this before, just like you have never done this for first-time moms. Be patient with yourself and your baby. At home, have a breastfeeding station set up, and you can do this before birth. So find a chair or a couch wherever you're going to be spending most of your time postpartum, in front of the TV, somewhere comfortable, and have like a little basket. Have like one-handed snacks available, trail mix, fruit, granola bars, a large water bottle. You're going to want to drink as much as you can. Keep a couple birth cloths nearby. Babies are messy eaters. I didn't know this. Nobody told me this. But babies are messy eaters. It gets all over you, all over their face, their chin, their chest. Keep them nearby so you can clean yourself up quickly. For burping as well, it's going to come in handy. And many women swear by the haka. It's like this plastic kind of tube thing that you can put on your non-breastfeeding breast, and it collects any leakage, any flow of breast milk from that side. So really, you can double your supply. Freeze what's in the haka so you have some for later on if you return to work or you need some time away from the baby. It's going to help you to build that supply up, build a freezer stash of breast milk that you can use whenever you need it. Another essential is to keep a book, a journal, or a phone charger, because once the baby's sleeping, you're not going to want to move. You're going to want to keep it sleeping. You may want to sleep. Another tip is to never bring your boob to the baby, but bring the baby to you. So get yourself comfortable, have lots of pillows around, and then bring the babe. You shouldn't be hunching, which is so often, it's just easy. We don't want to make it harder for our baby, but really we need to be bringing the baby to our chest to make it more comfortable for us. It's going to work the same way for them. Keeping pillows to support them underneath so you're not like physically holding up the baby through the entire time. Keep your clothing simple. I cannot recommend enough wearing just like a nightgown. They have some awesome ones now that are like built-in bra support tops with like flowy bottoms, so you can just take off the shoulder and you have your breast available. Keep it simple, a robe, something that's easy to pull down or pull up that keeps you feeling comfortable. The absolute best success for your breastfeeding duration is support. It is exhausting breastfeeding is the hardest job. It really takes a lot of time, and it often feels like it can be all the pressure on you. It's all your responsibility to provide your baby with this food. There's also a lot of cleaning that's involved, like cleaning breast milk pumps or the haka, just a lot. There's so much involved in the process. Find a system of support with your partner. Tell them you're going to really need them when you're breastfeeding to be your hands, to grab you things that maybe you forgot. And partners, if you're watching this, when you see your partner breastfeeding, bring them snacks, bring them water, ask her if she needs anything, and ask her often. Really, because you're going to become so tied down to this baby and sitting and breastfeeding that it's hard to get your needs met whilst being stuck under a nursing child. So rely on your partner and your support team to be your hands and grab those things. Don't be afraid of communicating your needs and asking for what you really need. If you are feeling stuck or frustrated, there's pretty much everywhere has local consultants that you can schedule with. See if maybe there's the latch is maybe not correct for you, or there's a tongue tie. Maybe there's an easy fix that they have. If you're struggling, it doesn't have to be. There's so many options of support for breastfeeding. You really just need to feel comfortable and confident in voicing those. If you are going to be bottle feeding, here's some essentials for you. Sometimes families choose it for whatever reason. It doesn't really matter why. If you're choosing to bottle feed over breastfeed, do it. If you're looking to do pumping, that's a totally another topic. But bottle feeding, so pumping, you're going to want to pump every 2 to 3 hours for at least 20 minutes, really to get your body in the flow of, okay, this is how often I need to produce milk, this is how much milk I need to produce. Because for breastfed babies, that they're going to be feeding every 2 to 3 hours for those first few weeks. So if you're planning on using formula, I recommend buying several different brands. I also recommend buying really deeply looking into the ingredients included in whatever formula you decide to go with. There's so many that have just really garbage. So many of the brands that the hospitals are going to give you as free samples, which really, they gave us so many free samples, we probably could have fed our baby off of just what they gave us. But as someone who's really concerned and focused on nutrition for myself and my child, I was reading the ingredients list of the Similac, kind of those big name brands that you see. The first ingredient is often corn syrup. And I remember as I was pregnant, my grandmother was like, oh, we used to put corn syrup in the bottles all the time. It helped fill the baby up so they wouldn't eat so much, and it was great. It would keep them fuller longer. And I just remember thinking, like, wow, that is wild. Like, you're just pouring straight corn syrup into your baby's bottles? Like, that seems crazy. And I'm looking at the ingredients and realizing we're doing the exact same thing now, 2 generations later. And we're just filling them with crap and garbage and sugar. So I did so much research. Earth's Best Organic is the one we went with. It is more pricey, and and we are lucky enough we were able to afford that in our situation. But I really stress looking at the ingredients label, finding something. Maybe you can't afford that. Find something that is kind of a middle ground then, something that isn't quite so high. Maybe the first ingredient isn't corn syrup, but it's later on in the list, so it's not so much just corn syrup. Also, try out several bottles. Every baby is different. Some bottles are going to work better than others. See which one your baby enjoys seems to enjoy the best and has the best luck with, but also leaves them the most content. So no gas from the air intake. So you're going to need at least, as far as like how many bottles to get, you'll need at least one bottle for every 6 hours. And a lot of you are probably like, but you just said they eat every 2 hours. That doesn't make sense. So bacteria growth actually doesn't occur before 6 hours of a liquid or anything sitting at room temperature. Washing your bottles after every use is probably going to be what your pregnant self is like, absolutely, I need to do that. But it adds up so quickly and it becomes such a chore. So I would say have at least 4 bottles per day. Have at least 8 bottles so you can go like a day without washing them, and then or 2 days, and then every 2 days you wash all the bottles, sanitize them, and then you're good. Because washing, sanitizing, everything after every feed is going to be exhausting. And when you have that little bit of free time to yourself when baby's sleeping, don't put that on your list. Don't make it another something that you have to do. Allow them to sit. And partners, if you're not home, not really involved with the feeding or breastfeeding, pumping, wash your partner's parts. The bottles, everything. The pump parts, not your partner's parts. It's going to be the biggest blessing to them and the biggest sign of your love and appreciation for the process of feeding a baby and breastfeeding and pumping. And there is also a comprehensive 4th trimester guide. Really, it just breaks down all of these things in one document. So if you want to print it out and have it with you, bring it with you to the birth, have it with you present in your breastfeeding, bottle feeding basket, have it in there so you can just kind of check back, how am I doing on taking care of myself? How am I doing with this 4th trimester transition? And that is the 4th trimester. I will see you in the next section to talk about postpartum expectations and some postpartum preparations.